But it was in 2000 when Nelson Mandela stated, sport has the power to, that galvanized a whole other aspect of corporate that we have not seen in any previous time before 2000s. Sport as a catalyst to create change in communities, to create change in an apartheid South Africa that was unable to enact change in other ways, but the sport brought together a community. And what happens when we talk about that sport is similar to how we misrepresent or misremember the Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. What we forget about in that Power of Sport quote is the root was talking about racism, injustice, and other systematic oppressions that were facing not just South Africa, but the world, and how sports was used as that tool to bring us together. And so for the past 7 years, what we've been looking at as an organization is, what is the harm in our good? Sport is an ultimate tool to think about how we can train up young scholars, how we can bring communities together. But what are we bringing our communities together for? Are we actually willing to talk about the issues that were present in '68 that are still present in 2023? Are we willing to talk about the issues that still most of our athletes, Black athletes, are considered commodities in an industry that's dominated by white professionals? We love a game on a Sunday. I'm here in Philly, and we just had a World Series craze. But after the fandom is gone, are we really still a community? Are we really still upholding the values that we say we are through sport?
When you think about what it means to be a global human and more than an athlete, and you look back at some of the powerful historical figures that people may miss some of the importance of those figures, and you've given some good examples. Would you just share a little bit of that with the audience about what that has meant when you look back in history?
Yeah, actually getting a little chills as you say that. Like it was difficult for me to not go to UCLA and choose Stanford. And for so many people, they have no clue of why that would be so difficult. Well, Jackie Robinson went to UCLA, and when I think of Jackie Robinson, you think of not just being the first in Major League Baseball, but being the first intentionally as a guy that had shown throughout his life that he was going to stand up, that he was going to be heard. I mean, we know so much about Rosa Parks. I was looking at a post by the King Center of Rosa Parks, and it's reminding people that she was 42 years old, that she wasn't old, she wasn't tired, that she was intentional about sitting. But I can say that Jackie Robinson was young and very intentional in 1944 when he decided he wasn't going to get to the back of the bus at Fort Hood, and end up getting court-martialed. I mean, it ended up getting wiped off, but he had to go through a court-martial. So Rosa Parks, 1955, Jackie Robinson, 1944. And so that's the guy that is going to Major League Baseball. That's a fighter. That's a guy that is going to stand. That's a guy that has a platform, and he's going to use it. He's not going to just be the first baseball player. He's going to be a guy that when you give him this platform, he has something to say. He has proven that he has something to say.
I want to fast forward to 2020 during the time that after George Floyd's murder. Mm-hmm. You penned an article in the Players Tribune called "Your Silence is a Knee on My Neck." And I just want you to comment on this, a piece of it. But you know what crushes me most of all? It's how the systems of power in this country are built so strong and with such prejudice that in order for white supremacy to flourish, people don't even have to actively be about white supremacy. They don't have to carry the burden of being openly racist or waste their energy or being loudly oppressive. It's not that at all. All they have to do is be silent. And I don't one of the things that upsets you the most is when people don't take a stand.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the stand you took when you decided to, after your championship year, to sit out and work on social justice?
Yeah, that was by far the hardest decision that I've ever made in my life. And I say that with the free agency coming up for me. To sit out the year after we won a championship, I'm having one of my best personal seasons. And then on top of it, I am the engine behind our team. I'm the point guard, I'm the quarterback. So we go as I go. So I'm doing a disservice by not going into this bubble. But also understanding that moment in time, because I'm also going to say her name, Breonna Taylor, was just murdered as well. So at that time, as Black and brown people in America, whether we knew them or not, you feel that trauma. You live that trauma every single day. So whether it's in our homes or outside, the minute we walk out our doors, we're not safe anywhere anymore. And I think at that point, with George especially, it was the first time that I saw our white allies be like, oh shit, this is what they've been screaming about. And so we need our white allies in order to really make movement and to move the needle. And so in that moment, it was, I cannot let this moment pass and not take advantage of the momentum that is behind the Black Lives Matters movement. So just understanding that I really do believe that God intended this game to be more than just winning championships and bringing it back to DC. He intended me to be a servant to my community and to others, and to be a voice for the voiceless. And so how can I best be a champion for my community in the time that we desperately need it? And that was sitting out and being in those rooms where legislation was being talked about, utilizing my platforms that I've made over my tenure in the WNBA, calling on my NBA counterparts to really step up to the plate and be about what they say they're about. And I feel like as athletes, we can be put on a pedestal so much, but when we take those jerseys off, we face these same things every single day in our life, and we're not protected just because of those jerseys. And so I wanted to take myself off the pedestal and be on the front lines and really just be there and be a part of a movement and a change and a fight for something different.
So let's start off talking about love. Charles, I want to start with you. When you think of why you do this, where is the love in this work? What keeps you going?
I would say the youth, being able to advocate for my people. I think that's where the love is. Being somebody who, this is nothing that I've seen anybody do before. So being that person for the people that come after me, I feel like that's big. So I can go home and help lead a new path for the kids at home and allow them and help them to strive on what they want to be and truly be.
That question of love, it came up in a conversation I was having earlier today, because the work I do is driven by the fact that in our nation, we have not grappled with the fact that we have never loved Black children and thought that they were fundamentally worthy of the same kind of nurturing and education that other children are. In fact, we don't even see them as children. We adultify them, we sexualize them, we criminalize them. And so to me, love is at the heart of this. We have got to move the needle and change the hearts and mind. And once we figure out how to love Black children, we will solve all of our problems. And so to me, the love lives right there. We have to change the narrative. We have to lift up and understand that we live in a culture that was built on devastating our communities. And when we take the time to love our children, when we take the time to use our resources, our voices, to tell everybody that Black children are worthy of love, then we will solve everything.